Hi, everybody. It is Sunday, February 9th, 2025, and I assure you that this time in our history will be talked about for a very, very, very long time. And the story will be about two things. It will be about what's happening, and also it will be about how you and I reacted, how the American people rose to the challenge of this moment or caved and acquiesced to what's happening. So I know many people are very upset about what's going on. We shouldn't be in delusion. We shouldn't be in denial. It is not hyperbole to say that there are forces that are seeking to gut the U.S. government. And they're doing it saying, oh, we're going to get rid of all the massive abuse and fraud. So let's take on what's really happening. The canard is that they're cutting out the fat, and there's a lot of fat that does need to be cut out. There's no denial about that. But these people are not out to cut out the fat. They are there to cut out the bone. You don't treat a patient that's sick by killing the patient, but that's what they're trying to do. And they are marching one after the other. So let's start with USAID. There are a lot of problems with the USAID. There are a lot of issues about, is the CIA working through it with some things? Probably, and some things that had to definitely be looked at. But first of all, in 1974, it was right after Watergate, Congress passed a law establishing what's called inspectors general to do oversight. So if you really want to look into stuff, the first thing you do is you talk to the people who are the inspectors general, and you go through a legal process to try to research, investigate, and cut where you can. That's not what they did. The first thing Trump did was he fired all of the inspectors general. And so Musk and his computer hacking team of people, none of whom know anything about government, none of whom know anything about these agencies, none of them know anything about what these agencies do, literally come in. They put, if you read my article on Substack called Scapegoat of the Hour, they actually kick the career professionals there out of their offices. They form a perimeter. They don't let anyone come in, and they just start looking at the website. They get into the website. They've already cut out, in the article I read several days ago, they cut out 8,000 pages. But they don't like cutting it. With USAID, there are programs. People will die without these programs. And this idea that you're cutting out massive waste and abuse, listen to this. 41% of the money that we give to in international food programs feeding the poorest of the poor on this planet, 41% of that food is raised by U.S. farmers. So this is actually, cutting out USAID is actually going to cost farmers and businesses in this country billions of dollars. Then there's the Consumer and Fraud Protection Bureau. Now, listen to this one. So Russell Vought, who had been head of the OMB, Office of Management and Budget, back in Trump's first term, he is one of the main authors of Project 2025, and he was just made head of the OMB again. Go onto the internet and see the speech that Senator Angus King made on the floor of the Senate, begging his colleagues, he's an independent senator, begging his colleagues not to vote for this man. They did anyway, but I think it's a historic speech and really from the heart and really, really good. Oh, and this man has actually said that his goal is to traumatize the federal workforce. I hope you read the article on my Substack page called Scapegoat of the Hour. I'm actually interviewing civil servants. I mean, the traumatizing, the demonizing, the villainizing of our fellow citizens. These are not like rich people. These are people who go to work every day. They depend on these jobs. They're all terrified about losing their jobs. Anyway, so Russell Vought says, we're not going to keep the Consumer Fraud Protection Bureau open. He said, we're cutting off that spigot. That's a waste of $700 million. And he would have you think, this is massive waste and fraud of taxpayer money. Don't buy it. It has actually saved, since its inception, I think it was Obama, maybe it was Clinton, but I think it was Obama. I have to check that. It has actually saved consumers $19 billion. That's where the fraud was. But they want to get rid of the bureau that would protect the American citizen against the fraud. These are fraudsters. They talk about they're going to cut out massive waste and abuse. They are the abusers. So you've got the USAID, you've got the consumer protection. Now there's all this stuff going on with the Musk wanting to get into the Treasury payments. So I would ask you, do you want these people to have all your private data? So there's a judge trying to block that, then J.D. Vance and these senators saying the judicial branch does not have power to stop the executive, because that's the whole thing with these people. Whatever Trump says, whatever the executive says, that's not what we do in this country. What we do in this country is we have three co-equal branches of government. This government was set up in opposition to Mad King George and the autocratic power of the monarch in England at that time. Meaning in the country that had that monarch doesn't have power in the hands of the monarch anymore. We don't do that. But they want to give, that's what Project 2025 is all about. Now, Trump's a billionaire. Elon Musk is a billionaire with $15 billion of government contracts pending with the U.S. government right now. So guess what he's doing? When he comes across the things on those computer systems that deal with his contracts, guess what he's doing? Deleting the pages. Oh, but Trump told us not to worry about any conflict of interest there because Elon Musk would monitor himself. We're not stupid. We need to have our eyes open and see what's happening here. So, just want to keep you fully apprised. Now, what does that mean? So you've got consumer protection. You've got also into the government personnel office. That's one of the things to read about too. They got in the personnel office, which is very important. Now they're for Treasury. They say they're going into the Pentagon. Are they going to do the kind of stuff that actually many Americans would like to see? We'll see. Or maybe they're just throwing us that bone because Trump has always been good at that. Whenever he's very shrewd, so it's been in his playbook for a long time. Throw the people something so that they're deflected from the fact that you're stealing them blind over there. That's the 2017 tax cut. The 2017 $2 trillion tax cut did have middle-class tax cut that was very good in it and should have been done by the Democrats before. So what that sort of deflects from is the fact that 83 cents of every dollar went to the richest individuals and corporations. And a lot of this, a lot of people are saying, this is all about cutting these agencies, cutting this money so that you will have the money to extend the tax cut. I'm afraid I think it's about something far more sinister than that. This is the complete undermining of our Constitution here. This is about something more serious than just the money. And Canada, Trudeau said at a private meeting that leaked that this stuff about taking over Canada, making it a 51st state, what the president is talking about with Gaza, is that we have the right to turn Gaza into a great real estate opportunity for the Jared Kushners of the world. Not that they've mentioned him specifically, but he had mentioned before. Just a real estate dispute. Now, you look at what he's talking about with Gaza, you look at what he's talking about with Canada, you look at what he's talking about with taking over the Kennedy Center, appointing himself chair. If it was even in the first term, we'd all be going, ugh, but not really worried about the worst of the worst because there were, as people keep saying now, guardrails. There aren't anymore. For whatever reason, the Republican Party is caving. I saw on the internet there was in I guess it was 2016, the Republican debate, and Marco Rubio saying to Trump in that debate, Donald, the Palestinians are not a real estate opportunity. He seems to have changed his mind as Secretary of State. He also made a deal with the El Salvadoran president that we're sending even American citizens over to their prison system. It is what it is, but it's not going to remain this way. And that's why I'm talking to you. You and me, every American citizen right now. First of all, remember, we're the boss. Government works for us and not the other way around. What are you supposed to do? I'm reminded of a line from Mahatma Gandhi, where he said, when someone asked him, who is the leader of the Indian independence movement, his response was, the small, still voice within. The question now for each of us is, how can I best serve? And each of us has a different part to play. But today, in the day of social media, until they kick you off if you're a problem, I don't know. Nothing will surprise me. I certainly hope that will not happen, but any place, whether it's your social media, where it's conversation with friends, stand for truth in the face of lies. Stand for truth in the face of lies. You've got to use your voice. And it will form a field of energy that you can just feel that the American people are not acquiescing to this. I do not believe in my heart that the majority of people who voted for Donald Trump thought they were voting for this. I don't. I know too many really cool, wonderful, smart, decent Republicans who I know did not think they were voting for this. So, if you're the praying type, pray for your country, pray for the world. Do whatever yours is to do. You have a life, you have friends, you have a platform, whatever your platform is. But don't close your eyes. I think that's the point. Don't close your eyes. And I just want to close with something from my own experience. I've worked a lot with people who had just received very devastating news in their lives. My career has been a lot being up close and personal with people who were going through some of the most agonizing hours. And I've seen something that happens. I've known people who lived very shallow lives, pretty much on the surface, not concerning themselves with deep things for the most part, who then got a really bad diagnosis, themselves or their spouse or their child. The test came back, not good news. And I've watched what happens in the space of like 5 minutes. It's like all these relatively, ultimately unimportant things just fall away. And that person makes a direct ascent into their full intelligence and maturity. And watch them at that point lean into the doctor. What do we do? Their childish self died, and their mature self emerged. That's why I feel that perhaps I can be of use. A lot of people are putting really, really good information up, but there's also the issues of our psychological and emotional stance. It's that point we must remember. Sometimes we're not a choice what happened, but we're a choice always, who do I choose to be in the space of what's happening? And that's a choice that only you can make, only I can make, only individuals can make. As long as you are intentional within yourself, you look at certain things and you go, that will not happen on my watch. If enough of us have that space going on inside ourselves, this will not happen on our watch, then the path will be paved, we'll be shown what to do, and we'll do what other generations have done at times such as these. We'll kick ass and we'll save our country. Talk to you later.